Dragon Ball Super episode 60 is now listed in the history books, and today, guys, I am joined by my friend Emish as we discuss our official predictions going into Dragon Ball Super episode 61. Now, keep in mind, guys, this video will contain massive amounts of spoilers and a rant, and let's just dive right into this. All right, so you saw episode 60, and based on your reaction, Emish, you weren't that excited. Maybe going into episode 61, your feelings might differ. But I want to know your thoughts on the following. So we finally realized that Black had used the Dragon Balls to switch bodies with Goku, and we see that his flesh is made of Goku's body, but we also know that his mentality is made of Zamasu's philosophy, and ultimately enough, his spirit is embedded within him. So I want to know your thoughts on the big reveal happening that Goku Black's identity was ultimately Zamasu, and I also wanted to get your take on next week's episode because it looks to be very chaotic. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and I want you to ultimately express your overall feelings as to how you feel about everything, because I know that you were cooking up a rant, and I want to know your thoughts on everything that has transpired thus far.
All right, so first off, thanks for having me again.
No problem.
And I'm just gonna go to question number 2 before I even go to question number 1 and 3.
Go ahead.
Question number 2, as far as next week, my only thoughts on it, unless we see some kind of fighting or some action or some ass kicking going on, and less talking. I mean, for the most part, we knew. Once that leak had came out on YouTube, but once you posted it and then a few other people posted it and stuff like that, I flipped. You already know how I felt about that. And unless we get some kind of like fighting or actual like more intensity, like it was when they first went to fight. I mean, when they went to fight Black for the second time in the future, and then they got their asses handed to them. If we don't get something like that next week, because I think the next episode is going to air October 9th, I believe it is.
Oh yes, it is. And I don't know. Did you see the preview by any chance?
I saw the preview. Yeah, I saw some of it, and then I just exited out the window.
It was more chaotic than you can possibly imagine, especially towards the end, because
it seemed like.
Do you remember Kid Buu's planetary destruction energy ball?
Yes.
Something like that, very similar, happened towards the very end, and it was coming for like all three of them. So they look like they couldn't avoid it. I mean, we know that they're gonna survive, but right. I think that as you pointed out just now, the fighting is definitely going to be there, because we see that. Again, our heroes are going to get their asses whooped. There's no denying of that. But, like going into Goku's identity and whatnot, I really want to get your take on that, because a lot of people saw it coming. Other people are still confused. If you would mind to just clear up the air here and explain to folks what this entirely means through your perspective, because a lot of people now are thinking, well, now there are 3 Zamasus, because we had the present one who died, we have the one in the future that's siding with Black, and we have Black who switched bodies with Goku. So what's your take on all of this?
All right, and that's what pisses me off so the most, is how we go from what was appearing to be such a great arc and a great series, right, with so much so much for the first time ever, I think, in my opinion. Hopefully you can agree, or to everybody who's watching this video can agree. I think this is probably the first time I've ever put my brain to work over a Dragon Ball. Forget the series, but the first time I've ever put my brain to work for even just one episode, just to figure out. I mean, look, like me and you over here discussing, yo, what's gonna happen? What are your thoughts? This and this, speculating left and right. You understand what I'm saying? So this was the first time I think I've gotten this, right? And now they made it this Inception-like thing where it's like a timeline within a timeline, but then in that timeline you have a parallel world, but in that world you have this going on. Oh, but since somebody stepped on a plant from the past, now Trunks has 3 arms in the future. And I don't mean to really over-exaggerate, but that's just how I feel. Like when I saw over time, I pretty much knew, and I figured out after reading the manga, which I'm just going to put it out there, I hate to read mangas. And I hate to look at leaks when I speculate, because I think it's more fresh to just do it based on what you're being given. But, just to join the crowd, I did it anyway. I read the manga and I figured out, okay, well, it looks like Zamasu is going to be Black, or Black is going to be Zamasu, or whatever. And what upset me the most was that we were under the impression, even when they gave us that filler episode where Reese and Beerus were speculating that, well, Black Goku may have been created. It made perfect sense. I agreed with that, that theory. Why would Zamasu want to be someone that he hates, or be someone that beat the crap out of him anyway?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's 1. 2, now we have this whole series went from time travel to some parallel universe that's like not even a mirror of each other. It's just a completely different world, which I'm okay with, I guess, to an extent. But it's the way they handled it. The way I feel like the way it was handled was, okay, well, it looks like this series might stretch out for too many episodes. We don't really want to do it, and I hate to criticize the developers that way, or the developer, but that's just how I felt when I saw all this happen. Like, maybe they felt like, okay, this is gonna be too long of a series. We have no intention or no original intention to drag this out for so long. So let's just say, well, hey, gotcha, guys. Just kidding. Black is really Zamasu. Ha 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 ha. You know, so we just spent, I think, about probably two or three episodes speculating, well, if he's not Zamasu, then who the hell is he? And now I know in the last video, I think maybe off a camera, I mentioned that, well, maybe he's someone that we know. Obviously, everybody knows who Zamasu is, but what bothers me the most that he says that he switched bodies with Goku. Fine. And before I mention which Zamasu is what and which Goku it is and blah blah blah, I just want to mention a couple inconsistencies now, that way I don't forget them later on as you ask me the question later on. So one, we can say to an extent that Black and Zamasu, yes, are the same. Not in terms of spirit or being, but it's obviously clear to me, and I would assume it's clear to you too, that they're not essentially the same people. Their personality, I don't care what anybody says, they're not really the same. Yeah, the way they talk shit to to Goku and them, any villain will talk to them that way. Like, oh, you're beneath me, you're nothing, I'm more powerful, blah blah blah. That's pretty much expected. I'm talking about their character. You had one Zamasu who has no interest in training anymore. He has no interest in improving his protege abilities, his fighting abilities. He just wants to become immortal. Like, forget it. I'm not even gonna bother training. I'll just become immortal, get slightly stronger because of my Kaioshin status. But other than that, I have no real, interest in getting stronger at all.
That being future Zamasu, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Then you have another Zamasu who apparently, this is the one who's Black Goku, who appears to be losing his mind, if anything. Because now he acts more like I said in the last video, he acts more like Goku and Beerus more than he does of Zamasu. Since when does Zamasu talk about main courses, or refers to power as food, or refers to causing pain to other people as, something tasty? Since when does he lick his lips like a lunatic like that?
Also, people might be asking, well, what do you mean? Also, if you look at this episode that just happened, he also told everyone that he had gotten much stronger than before. And and based on what you just said, Zamasu never really bragged about his power and stuff like that. So Black seems to have taken more of a role of Goku, because Goku always cared about getting stronger, and because you can see that based on Black's demeanor, that after everyone returned, he was clear to say, thanks for coming back. I got even stronger than before. And we can see the differences in personality, because one doesn't seem like he cares, and the other one just seems like he's at a power grasp, like he's just power hungry. So
exactly. But I guess that's what happens when you actually attain actual power. The kind of character that Zamasu is originally, I think he's very cowardly, which goes back to the last episode where Black mentions that this power is the power that's necessary for us to carry out our plan, not your bullshit immortal crap. Like, I have no interest in that. And maybe the whole power hungry thing has changed his attitude to an extent. But other than that, other than the fact that, well, Zamasu is the one saying, we are one and the same, and the Patara earrings, and only a Kaioshin can wear a time ring. Well, fine, if he's... Now, here's the thing. Here's a couple questions that I have. Not even just for you, but just general questions. One, what the hell... I mean, if only Kaioshins are supposed to use time rings, right?
Right.
Does it... I mean, if he's using a different body, does that still necessarily make him a Kaioshin? I mean, obviously, perhaps according to the developers, it does, because, well, obviously he has the time ring.
Well, we also saw in the preview where Zamasu snatched Gowasu's earring, and oddly enough, we saw Goku in Universe 10, and he shook hands with Zamasu. So it's pretty odd stuff, and I'm reading the preview right now. It says, and I quote, "Hey, this is Son Goku. Damn, Zamasu and Black. Looks like their techniques are way more powerful than when we first joined forces. Still, I will not rest until I have taken them down. Vegeta and Trunks, give it all you got. Next time on Dragon Ball Super, Zamasu's ambitions, the terrifying Zero Immortals plan." So it looks like their techniques have also improved, because if you keep in mind, they're both in sync with one another. So I just really hope in order to defeat one, you don't have to kill the other, because that'll really suck. It's more or less like a yin and a yang. And I really hope that if they do kill off Zamasu first, or if they do kill off Black first, that has no direct effect as to what happens to the other person. But do you believe that's the case? Do you believe that whatever happens to one affects the other?
I think so.
Really?
I think so. And here's why. And before I get to that, before I answer that, I want to touch upon the actual question that you asked me before as
Okay.
to who Black is, or maybe which Zamasu is and stuff like that. Okay, so we know in the present timeline, Beerus destroyed Zamasu, right?
Right.
Some people on your other video was saying that, well, maybe he already switched with him, or maybe that, even though he got destroyed, maybe he never really did get destroyed, or maybe he knew, blah, blah, blah. That's done. That Zamasu's done. The present timeline has been set so that way nothing happens in that timeline. Nothing that happened in the future is going to happen in the present timeline. Excuse me. And the reason for that, the only reason why Beerus is concerned, he's only concerned with the present timeline. And if you go back again to the manga, he mentions, well, that, it shows him a picture, I believe, of him holding his finger up, where he mentions, well, hey, if he could do all this, time traveling, blah, 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 then that shouldn't stop him from coming to the present timeline. In that scenario, then we should do something to stop that. Eventually, pretty much, they go up and Beerus destroys Zamasu. So that's the end of that Zamasu. He's gone. I'm pretty sure he's done. If he comes back or something, I'm just not going to watch the rest of that. I'm telling you right now.
But here's something very intriguing that I think you ought to point out, and this was just posted up right now. This was the exact quote that Black gave Goku as they were talking. Black says, a fake. No, that's not right. This is the real Son Goku. It's your own body. However, this mind is mine. Zamasu, I used my first wish of the Super Giant Dragon Balls to exchange my body with yours. And Goku says, exchange? Then what happened to me? Whose body did you steal? And Black says, haha, I killed him with these hands. So, what's your take on that?
Wow.
Right there. Yeah, I know. Right there. I just stopped you in your tracks.
But but you see, this is why it's getting me so angry, man. I'm telling you, listen, it's not that I can't answer the questions that's pissing me off.
Absolutely.
It's that, come on, really? Like, come on, stop.
Goku asked him, he's like, so whose body did you steal? And he said, I killed him. So, did he go back somewhere else?
No, it doesn't matter. But this is what's bothering me. Why is it that when the villains do something to any timeline, it doesn't affect anything else? Instead, it makes everything more convenient for them, right?
For the villains, right?
Right, for the villains only. For everybody else, it doesn't matter. Beerus killed President Zamasu. Nothing happened in any other timeline. Nothing. Not even a bee died. Nothing happened, okay? Everything is exactly the same way. Another thing, you go to the manga, where, or to anybody who's followed, look up chapter 16, I believe it's chapter 16, it's titled Future Trunks' Past. It shows what happened in pretty much in Future Trunks' past when Babidi and Deborah had came. It starts off, I believe, with Trunks being on the Universe 7 Kai, the planet of the Kais, with Kibito and Supreme Kai, right?
Right.
That's the most useless Supreme Kai of all time. And, excuse me. And pretty much they're training with the Z-Sword. Boom. Fast forward, they go to fight Deborah and Babidi. Deborah ends up kicking their ass for the most part. And fast forward again, I'm not going to really get too deep because I don't want to, prolong my answer. Pretty much what ends up happening, Trunks defeats Deborah, but only because for the most part, the Kais end up sacrificing themselves to do it, to pretty much aid him. Now, in that timeline, first of all, let me just put it out there, that's the only time that Supreme Kai was ever useful, ever in his life. That's one. And two, he ends up dying. So we know Beerus, the God of Destruction doesn't exist in that timeline no more. They defeat Deborah, Majin Buu isn't revealed. But after that happens, it shows Black Goku there, and he says, finally, I have arrived at a timeline where that meddlesome God of Destruction, Beerus, doesn't exist, right?
Right.
So now, I assume he stays in that timeline, meets up with the Zamasu from that timeline, right? Probably gives him the heads up, if anything. And then that's where this whole thing ends up going, where Black, appears in that timeline. Because then it pretty much shows where Trunks mentions, shortly after that is when Black Goku appeared. You know what I'm saying? So now, that Black Goku has already set, that Black Goku, aka version of Zamasu, which Zamasu it is, I have no idea, because that means he would have had to, a different Zamasu would have had to have done something. So if anything, I think there's more than 2 or 3 Zamasus now. See, because even as I'm explaining it, I'm getting more mad, and I'm confusing myself a little bit, but I'm trying to make some sense at the same time, because now you got Black Goku appearing at a timeline where we know Black Goku is Zamasu. So that means that Zamasu appearing in that timeline, he was already doing dirty work with the time ring, which is what I mentioned in the last video when I said that Black Goku there's a reason why that Black Goku, or him, whoever he is, has the time ring, because he's been doing some dirty shit, he's been doing some sneaky shit, and he's been traveling to all sorts of different times and doing whatever he has to do to finally get to a timeline where Beerus doesn't exist, I have no idea why he's so scared of Beerus, but it tells us that if him and Beerus were to fight, Beerus would own his ass.
Well, yeah, there's no mistaking of that. I mean,
exactly.
I don't think we've ever seen Beerus's like true potential. Because when he fought Goku, that's a different story. I don't think he tried like 100%. But also, if you look at this, during the preview, we also get to see Black using the time ring a little bit, which is why towards the very end, like the final 2 seconds, Goku and Trunks looked a little scared. So my question to you is, going into episode 61 and 62, are we going to get more of an understanding through your perspective as to how Zamasu took Gowasu's earring, as to why Black has the time ring on his finger and Zamasu does not? Because you pointed that out, that Zamasu does not have the time ring on, but Black does. And why is that? Why does Black, who is not a Kaioshin yet rocks the Kaioshin earring on, have the ring, but Zamasu does not? So it's like there's a lot of, like, as you said, Inception kind of stuff here, like a giant paradox going on. But going into next week's episode, do you think that we're gonna see and they're gonna explain to us that there are more than just 1 or 2 or 3 Zamasus? As you said, you believe that there are. But what about, like, if there are different Blacks out there, like different versions of Goku Blacks out there?
I think that would be overdoing it. But it's a good question, because why not have multiple Blacks and have multiple Zamasus? But I think that's the inconsistency of this series now.
But how do you stop that?
Honestly,
it's really hard to get to like the very source of like the problem, because we all thought the source of the problem was present day Zamasu, right?
Right, but as you can see, but remember, didn't I mention that Black is probably going to be the main villain? Right, and eventually, in essence, if you think about it, in essence, now that's the one with the time ring. He has, even though he's not maybe the puppet master or whatever, but that's the one that did the most work for all this shit to happen. Maybe that's what he means by this power is necessary. He's always lately he's been constantly focusing on himself. The developers have been focusing on Black. Another thing that bothers me is that in that timeline where Beerus, where Black Goku gets to that timeline, and Beerus doesn't exist. Then you have another, I believe, another scenario where the Kais are training. You have Kibito Kai training with Zamasu, with a version of Zamasu.
Right.
And basically at the end of the training session, they mention, Zamasu mentions, oh, I heard you guys were able to stop the revival of Majin Buu. And that's when he finds out that they needed the assistance of Ningen, or mortals, in order to do that. The Kai mentions we would have never been able to do that without Son Goku and his friends. Now here's what baffles me about this, is that Zamasu then asks, Son Goku, who is that? And then pretty much the Kais explain that he's a Saiyan from the Earth, blah, 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 how strong he is, this and this and this. To my knowledge, in that timeline, Goku wasn't even alive. You see what I'm saying? He wasn't even alive. Unless I missed something, he was dead. So I'm not even sure why the Kais mentioned Son Goku in his name, because the person who stopped the revival of Majin or whatever was actually Trunks. And then you have that Trunks coming into the present timeline saying, well, no, in the future, we stopped the revival of Majin Buu, or I stopped the revival of Majin Buu, but the Kais ended up giving their lives for it. So now it's like, okay, well, why would Zamasu have to, pretty much he took an interest as to who Son Goku was. And right after that, he was like, okay, well, Kais, let us do our best to, protect our plans, to pretty much protect the way of the gods, blah, blah, blah. And that's when Gowasu had that smirk on his face, like, oh, shit, here we go with this mortal plan, this little, gods are superior to humans kind of thing, and stuff like that. So that's what's really driving me crazy. I don't know how to explain that.
What drives me crazy is if Zamasu really has the body of Goku, then what the fuck is Super Saiyan Rose? You get what I'm saying? Like wouldn't he be able to mimic Goku's exact techniques and transformations to the T, instead of having like somewhat of a different color?
You're absolutely right about that, because that's weird, because now it wasn't until he fought Goku that he pretty much mimicked his fighting style, or he became stronger. But to me, I don't think he became stronger. In essence, if you look at it, yeah, I mean, according to the episodes, yeah, he got stronger, but the only thing that changed was his battle technique. He started copying Goku's stance when he went back to the future. He started, that's when they showed that transparency where it showed Goku morphing into Black Goku, etc., etc. So that's the only thing that happened really. After he got his ass kicked by Goku is when he got stronger.
You got to give it to Goku though, because in the preview he says that despite what happens, he's still going to continue. So, do you think that
just keep making him stronger? Then, if anything, what do you think? Right? I mean, if anything, Black would just keep getting stronger if that's the case. I'm not going to stop until that. But going back to your point about the whole, well, to defeat one, you have to do the other. Here's why I feel like they might end up taking that route, because apparently, up until now, if you do something to anybody, nothing changes nothing changes in the timelines unless it benefits the villains. But maybe now they might switch it back to a point where, okay, well, if you guys do something to this Black, it might affect that Zamasu because in essence he is Zamasu in a sense. What upsets me is why present Zamasu died and nothing happened to those two Zamasus. Or, and then I could say, well, maybe the Zamasu that Black had switched with ended up dying because the present one died. But then pretty much when Goku asked Black, well, hey, what happened to me then? Oh, I killed him with my own hands.
With these hands, yeah.
What the hell now? What are you guys trying to do over here? And this is why I say it's creating an Inception-like thing, and it's mind-boggling. And at this point, it's like, why even bother trying to speculate as to what's going to happen or what the hell happened? And this is why I feel offended in that sense, where I say, well, hey, they took the easy way out. They went back to the drawing board and said, you know what? Let's just make Zamasu black. Let's just say that he's black. I feel like they had something else planned and just didn't want to go through with it. And I feel like, well, hey, let's just go back to the drawing board. Let's just go back to our original thing with Zamasu being black and say, ha, gotcha. You know, just kidding. As for the next episode, we're definitely going to see some fighting. That energy ball that you were talking about, it could be that what they were doing, I think, a couple episodes ago, where
Black they combined attacks.
Exactly, yeah. It could be that. But you would think an attack like that would be enough to destroy the whole planet, that whole timeline, you know. But I don't know. So it's weird. I don't know, man. Like, I'm just frustrated.
I mean, I really do hope that, because this episode definitely set it up for the next episode, and there was nothing in episode 60 that we didn't learn that was new to us in a way, right? Because we already understood that Black was Zamasu the whole time and this, that, and the third, but now we understand that he stole Goku's body, and now Goku's asking, like, all right, like, whose body did you steal? Like how'd you do it? So in next week's episode, I think it's going to be very crucial, because they're going to explain what happened in the future timeline before the attack, because we saw Gowasu and Zamasu there, and then he must have done something to take his earring. He took his earring, they shook hands, they created somewhat of an alliance, so maybe he waited a year, all that kind of good stuff. But any final words before we go in terms of next week's episode, in terms of like your overall expectations or what you do or don't want to see?
At this point, I don't even want to see the episode.
Really?
I'm so serious.
Nah, you know you want to see it, bro. Come on, man.
Of course, the fan inside me wants to, but the general knowledge side of me, where it's like, okay, well, it puts my brain to work. That's the only reason I ended up getting so drawn into Dragon Ball Super, because I was like, whoa, there's actually a storyline here, and they did a heck of a good job, you know, putting everything together. I like the whole concept with the gods and stuff like that. What bothered me, what ruined it for me, was the whole time travel thing. They put so much. I honestly think, if anything, the emphasis, if you're going to introduce Trunks and make his timeline so imperative to everything, they should have put more focus on him. Why use Goku? Why? For what? I mean, other than him being the main character, you didn't have to do it like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And now we have this major inconsistency where, okay, well, we have every kind of timeline. We went from timeline, now we're going to parallel worlds. What the hell are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Now we have maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 Zamasus. I read a comment on one of your most recent videos a few minutes ago where someone said that he feels as if I forgot the username, so if you're listening to this video, shout out to you, because I just don't remember your username. I apologize about that. But he said that he feels the Zero Mortal plan has to do with all the Zamasus. But that's the problem with time travel, with parallel worlds. There could be an endless supply of Zamasus and Blacks, and I don't want to really dive into that discussion, because that's just too much, and it's too much, you know. It makes me want to pull my hair out. But other than that, I'm really unhappy. I'm not satisfied at all. I'm not feeling the fact that we could just mind jack people now, that we could just wish to be someone else. Why should someone like Zamasu, who claims to be a god, want to switch bodies and want to switch his position, his whole entire being with a mortal? Why would he want to do that? And let me just put this on record. How dare they even put Zamasu in Goku's body and then use him to kick Vegeta's ass like that?
Oh yeah, so that was a slap to all the Vegeta fans.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so disrespectful. Like, it's unbelievable, and I mean, to the Vegeta fans out there, on behalf of anything that makes sense, I am literally apologizing for you. I didn't make this episode. This is not how I wanted it, but this is what we're being given, and I really apologize.
Hey,
for that.
At least he didn't get stabbed this time.
Well, you know what? He should. If anything, you know what I mean? Like, they might as well just do it again, because they're just gonna fuck everything up. Excuse my language, but they're just gonna fuck everything up anyway, like they did now. That's the thing, man. It's driving me crazy. They take Zamasu, who takes so much pride in himself. He's so full of himself, and all of a sudden, no, I want to be Goku now. I need his power, not my own. And then I end up getting his power. I didn't get his power. I got his body. Oh, and by the way, he knew instant transmission episodes ago, like like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes ago, but he still didn't get his power. He still didn't learn how to use Goku's body fully. I don't know how he knew instant transmission.
That depends on which version of Goku did he really kill, you know?
Well, that too, because he's a Kai, they can instantaneously transmission anyway, right?
Yeah.
But that's my point. That's my point. Why, you know, they could have just made Zamasu powerful. They could have just done it that way, where he went crazy and said, you know what, I can't stand this mortal or any mortal being stronger than me, or a god for that matter. So why would I want to be the person I hate? Why would I want to be the person that beat the shit out of me on my own planet in front of my master? Like, I'm asking you that now. Would you be okay with that? Yeah, would you be okay? Like, it's like me and you get into a fight, and then I beat the crap out of you, or you beat the crap out of me, and I say, you know what? I want to be like that guy when I grow up. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I think it destroys what Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, or even what anything was as a whole. And now you have Zamasu telling us, well, I come from a higher place than you. No, you goddamn don't, because you belittled yourself, and now you have the same balls to criticize the gods for giving knowledge to the mortals, but meanwhile you belittled yourself by becoming one anyway. And then you had your counterpart wish for immortality. That's just, it doesn't make sense, man. And then with that, I'm sorry that my outro was so long, but with that, it just, fuck you, Dragon Ball Super.
I get it, man. A lot of people are in your position right now. A lot of people are confused as well. If you guys have anything to add to this, let us know down below. If you guys are super stoked for episode 61, if you guys feel the same way Emish does about the entire situation, comment down below and let us know. I will link his Twitter down below as well, so you guys can contact with him as well. Thank you all for watching, guys. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Leave your thoughts down below. If you guys enjoyed the prediction/rant video, make sure to leave a like down below. Thank you all for watching, guys, and we'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, everybody. Peace. So we just literally finished our conversation, and Emish brought one thing up that I really want you guys to hear out, and I actually thought about it for a second. I was like, wait a minute, 2 and 2, if you put 2 and 2 together, it makes sense. So Emish, why don't you conclude with what you just told me, because what you just told me was like really good. So you have the floor, my friend.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much again. All right, so check it out, guys. Look, pretty much, I'm gonna just jump straight to the point where Goku asked Black what happened to him after he reveals that he switched the bodies with he switched bodies, or Zamasu switched bodies with Goku, therefore swapping pretty much bodies, whatever. And then Goku asked Black Goku, wait, so what happened to me then? And Black Goku responds by saying, well, I killed him with these hands or whatever, blah 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 blah. Now, what if? And I think maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever, fine. But what if that at that point, right, Black Goku, the person he's referring to that he killed him with his own hands, maybe Zamasu made the wish, swapped bodies with Goku and put Goku's spirit or whatever into Gowasu, then at that point killed Gowasu, took his Potara earrings or whatever, and then that's how all that shit formed. And because at that point we don't see Black or Zamasu or anybody killing anyone with their hands up until where Gowasu dies. Gowasu's the only character that's being shown as to who dies, and Black Goku, aka Zamasu, strictly refers, he says and he stresses it, that I killed him with these hands. So he killed Goku, but he killed him in, and maybe because that Zamasu ended up dying, or so the question might come. I'm so sorry I sound like so flushed, is because I'm so excited. So now the question arises as to, okay, well, what happened to that Zamasu? That Zamasu probably ended up being destroyed, and it fluctuated the timeline, where Beerus mentions that, okay, if a god does something in a timeline, it's got to affect the timeline, except there's not a timeline here, it's a parallel world. So it affected that point at that parallel world, where the present Zamasu being destroyed the Zamasu that was left over from that wish. So I'm so sorry if it sounds confusing, so I'm just going to recap real quick. Zamasu makes the wish, he swaps bodies with Goku. So now Goku is Zamasu, but Goku ends up going into Gowasu, right? And Zamasu kills Gowasu, so now there's no more Gowasu, there's no more Goku, blah blah blah. That Zamasu ends up dying because Beerus in present timeline destroys that Zamasu, and this is why I said fuck Dragon Ball Super, because of this Inception bullshit. It makes everything confusing. That's what I think. That's how I feel. If I'm wrong, fine. But hey, can't blame me for trying. Once again, thanks for having me on the channel. I really appreciate it.
No, definitely. And let me know what you guys think down below on the possible theory that, Emish created here on maybe that was the case where they swapped, bodies with Gowasu and Goku, and the fact that Goku was Gowasu. We see Zamasu striking him down with his hands, and Black clearly told Goku that, you know, whatever happened to the person that I swapped bodies with, well, I killed him with my own very hands. And very similar to episode 58, when we saw, you know, Zamasu kill Gowasu with his own hands. That was more than enough confirmation to say that, well, that could be the case. But again, we're gonna find out when episode 61 drops. Everybody, thank you all for watching as always, and we'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.